Dude, come on. Come on, dude. DPRK executed 12 young men for playing League of Legends. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. Gotta do it to him. Yeah, a bit harsh, but understandable, you know? I'm not an advocate for capital punishment. But you gotta make sure you stop this scourge dead in its tracks. Why are playing propaganda WTF? What? Has to try to get plat in rivals because he isn't good enough to hit plat in league. I will never be bad enough as a person to play League of Legends. How dare you? Are you proud of us, Hasan? Y'all are crazy. You have a Hostwit faction? Did you see DPRK TV? A guy in Canada was able to pick it up via satellite? I did. A more accurate headline. DPRK saves 12 young from the pain of playing more League of Legends. Yeah. I don't understand devaluing the life represented in such executions. Even if the game is bad or a waste of time, why kill them? Why not find more productive work for them to do? This is so funny. A person took this seriously from pamphlets and responded with like, well, you know, it's okay that you're criminalized playing League of Legends, but you might as well put him into the salt mines. Oh God. The average American's processing capabilities of like foreign adversaries is is like tuned to the level of a fucking child. Okay? Like even if it's very clearly a meme account doing a clear meme, they still have that dog in their brain that says like, "Yeah, I believe it. The DPRK would do such a thing." And then we wonder why Yeonmi Park, a person who very clearly was lying about insane things that she experienced in North Korea, and then tying it back to you know, Columbia University being similar because of woke. Like that person, so many Americans believe that. Would they not legitimately do that? Is possible? No, they would not legitimately do that. What are you saying, dude? I don't know. But I don't like my first inclination when I hear about this sort of thing. Not me, Park. That wasn't me. I literally never said that. She said the FBI was going to do security for a public speaking event, and then they then canceled because the FBI's director of diversity called her, telling her she had to cancel. Have you ever been in North Korea? How do you know? You know what? You're right. I don't know. Yami Park was lying about what she let leave through in North Korea? Yes. Or do you actually think in North Korea people pull trains? Like the trains don't run, so people have to pull them. And that and that they actually have to eat human feces, and then they would eat rats, and then sometimes the rats would eat them, and then the rat would be beefier, and then they would eat the rats again, and they would trade rats for rocks because there's no currency. Like, listen, I'm not I'm not one of these dudes that's like they're eating burger every day in Democratic People's Republic of Korea. They eat burger all the time. They eat burger for breakfast, which I also think is funny because it's such a common like left book position created by Americans because it's let me tell you why that is inherently an American statement. Because they think eating burger is the peak of civilization. So even if you're like a rugged Maoist Leninist or Maoist third worldist, okay, you still think like, oh no, you don't understand. They're doing fantastic. What do I have? Evidence to show that they're doing fantastic? They eat burger all day, every day. No, there is a pizza place. That is not a lie, by the way. They do have a pizza in DPRK. That's correct. That isn't a lie. There's a pizza restaurant in Pyongyang. I mean, the I know of. I'm sure there's more than one. I just know that there's one famous pizza place. There's also a Brazilian steakhouse in Pyongyang that the Brazilian consul runs. Oh, that's sick. Um. Anyway, why do you support China if they crack down unions and are state capitalist? They literally have what? Supporting a country that is sending soldiers to fight Ukraine but claims to not be pro-Russia. Why do you support China if they crack down on unions or state capitalists? They literally have billionaires. Okay. I think there is a difference between me saying, I don't think people are eating rat poop and then trading rat for rock in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. And I love the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. And I think it's a good country. And I think it's the best country. There's got to be a difference there, right? Like there's a lot going on in between there. I would probably be somewhere in between those two boundaries. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, you then immediately moved on to China, which there's never been a moment where I've been like, I love that China cracks down on unions, or I love that China has billionaires. As a matter of fact, I always say, I love that China at least punishes its billionaires, whether it's because they step out of line with whatever the party goals are or not, it doesn't matter. I also routinely talk about the censorship and how silly it is, especially as China is now well on its way to become a global hegemon. If you want to get mad at the living conditions of DPRK, you should get mad at the United States of America for creating such living conditions in the DPRK. Even the very fact that they still have an almost monarchy style structure in their governance is partially the fault of the United States of America. There were, numerous times where America did not have to involve itself with the affairs of Korea, but instead they chose to do so because they wanted to make sure they had a authoritarian military dictatorship planted firmly within the American sphere of influence that they wanted to use as a bulwark against the growing Chinese communist movement in the region and the USSR during the Cold War. I can't think of any other country that has been so forcibly partitioned by a Western superpower like this in the post-colonial era. Anyway, I hope that this clarifies for you what my position is. Defending the DPRK is a wild position to take and definitely not being normal or harmful. Why are you defending DPRK? They're a cruel, fascist, failed state. Once again, I will reiterate my position because it's so difficult for people to comprehend. American brains, unfortunately, are limited to simple thoughts. I am not defending the DPRK. I am not defending the Kim family. I am simply stating that the greatest harm done to the people of the DPRK, okay, was done to them not by their corrupt authoritarian state, but by the United States of America. And I even further posit that if the United States of America had not done such unimaginable harm that continues to this day through the unlimited sanctions regime that we've implemented, they would probably have an easier time moving towards some semblance of whatever you would consider to be a liberal democracy. Okay? Stop being so easygoing when talking about North Korea and PRC. No, I get that part, brother, but it came off that way. No, it didn't come off that way. You are just primed into thinking that it is that way. And any sort of, hey, man, you're actually wrong, that's not how things are, immediately creates this Western chauvinism. It immediately creates this Western chauvinist inference that, no, you're actually not meeting the standards. Like your analysis and your criticism is not reaching the standards that I expected to. You should be sitting there and saying they have the same haircuts and they eat dog poop every day. One must ask the question why you immediately rush to go, ooh, any sort of like any sort of pushback against the well-established Western position, oftentimes exaggerated insanities that go on there, and not just like the regular old awful poverty that they experience over there. Any sort of pushback against that is instantly seen as a defense of the DPRK. If you take this position at Thanksgiving dinner, you're going to turn people off and make them think you're crazy. I don't care. Okay? Wait, really? You think if I say, hey, there's this one random country out there, okay, that we have just starved out for decades at this point, maybe we should allow them to enter the global marketplace so they can liberalize. You think that like people are going to go, that's unacceptable. No, we should kill all of them? Maybe. Okay, maybe your parents might, but I don't care. Lamau, what would DPRK offer the global marketplace? I don't know. What the fuck does England offer to the global marketplace, dummy? Sheep? It's so funny. You can't even say like, "Hey, it's crazy that we have just this unimaginably cruel sanctions regime on countries like the DPRK, on countries like Cuba, or even countries like Iran." And and people turn around and go, "Wow, that's insane. No, we should stamp on their neck harder." Yeah, here. Wait, what the heck? Playback speed is Italia Pizza Restaurant in Pyongyang. It's really interesting because like whenever you see a country that is otherwise presented as a monolithic force of evil on this planet, okay? Whenever you see a country that is presented as otherwise a monolithic force of evil on this planet, and you work to actively humanize them, people have this attitude where they're like, dude, you're defending them. Dude, you're defending them. No, man, I'm just saying that they're like normal human beings, you know? Like that's it. And if you consider that to be this like unjustifiable defense of, I don't know, North Korean governance or whatever, then that's kind of your fault. It's on you.
Spaghetti sogogi?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sogogi.
I was at a Christmas party last year and a K-pop stan said she hated North Korea so much she thinks we should just nuke them. Does she not realize that there's probably like family members of the wonderful state of South Korea that she loves that still live in North Korea? That's crazy. And I was like, whoa, hold up. What if we just let them into the global community like you said? And she was like, yeah, actually, that makes more sense. Americans just don't think deeply about their genocidal tendencies. It's important to challenge them. Exactly.
Udah apa? Apa? Mian Hamida minta maaf. Igo mo? Udon?
Yeah.
감사합니다.
This is what they're making at the Italian restaurant.
Igo tarango?
네,
Tarango pizza.
진짜. 네.
Oh, iya. Hanato mau minta usan Hanato Capri.
Wouldn't it be consistent then to advocate for the Kim family to surrender and relinquish the state to the West? Wouldn't that immediately improve their living conditions by lifting the embargo? Yeah, if I didn't know anything about the history of the DPRK, the Korean War, and Western intervention in the country, and I was just like kind of stupid and said stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, that would go hard if I was a dumb guy. Like, what do you mean surrender to the West? This is the classic, like, can't you tell Hamas to release the hostages take? Like, can't we tell it? We can't even tell Israel, a nation state that straight up can only do all of this violence, this genocide, because we're giving it weapons. We can't even tell them to stop. The hell do you mean? Yeah, what you're saying goes hard if you're stupid. Again, this does not justify the West, but it is not possible to lift that embargo by any means. So wouldn't leftists want to minimize Suffering immediately. Yeah. I'm a leftist. And as a leftist, I believe that every country should buckle over to Western empire because otherwise we'll just keep killing them, either slowly with crippling sanctions or directly by bombing basically every city where people live. And then doing the crippling sanctions regime. That's amazing. This video is just proof of Western dominance. Even in North Korea, their desire for pizza deliveries just breaks through.
Capri.
True. Yeah, they wanna have their own little Uber servants.
Mati lampu. Mati video.
What are they putting on that pizza? Kim Jong Un famously a red velvet K-pop girl group stand and let them perform in North Korea. Wait, what? What year is this from? Oh my God. 2018? This song goes hard. Are these people not curious at all? They just hear something and say, "Okay, that's my view of the world," with no further evidence needed. I think you're misunderstanding how important fear is in this conversation. Fear of the other, fear of the unknown. That's enough. Why, if you're living in the heart of empire, you don't care. Why would you ever think about what's going on in other countries? Why would you support a Korea that is owned by corporations, run by a handful of ultra wealthy families, and forces its own workforce to slave away for minimum wages? When did I say that? I don't know what the current attitudes in South Korea are, but considering the recent history of Korea in general, I think that if given the opportunity for unification, I feel like a unified Korea might move more towards social democratic principles rather than uh, turn DPRK and what remains of North Korea into yet another hellish dystopian hyper capitalist society. Especially because, in spite of all of the murder, in spite of all of the death and the destruction and the murder that brutal authoritarian leadership committed, the many crimes that South Korean leadership committed that the American government totally oversaw and offered funding and support for and defense for in times of need, um, South Koreans still have a pretty robust culture of discontent. We even saw that with the immediate mobilization that took place after the president. Now, of course, that would never happen with as long as American troops are still in South Korea. That'll never happen. But I'll just say it like this: it's not an accident that uh, South Korea experiences so much public discontent. It's also not an accident that they are endlessly divided on gender lines, and it's also not an accident that there's so much of South Korean media talks about, on the one hand, talks about the glories of capitalism and how wonderful it is to be wealthy, aspirational goals presented, okay, while simultaneously the other half of South Korean media work almost always talks about the parasitic nature of capital. Young Koreans in their 20s and 30s know how much China has infiltrated Korea, the National Assembly, the media, elections, etc. They are out at night in the cold to stop the arrest of President Yoon, to stand with him against anti-state forces influenced by the Chinese Communist Party. South Korean citizens gather in front of the presidential residence to prevent the arrest of President Yoon Suk Yeol immediately after an arrest warrant was issued for his arrest. Wait, are these actually the incel armies trying to defend the incel president, or are these people protesting the president?
자, 또 높게 흔들으세요. 높게 해외 많은 시민들, 국민들이 또 우리 교민들이 볼 수 있게 높게 흔들어 주세요.
They don't look young. Yeah. Worth noting that it is mainly men between 1929 that like former President Yoon. So yes, this is the incel army. You'll notice how other protests were just listening to girl group music because women were driving force behind the impeachment protest compared to this. Why are you calling the president incel? Because he is an incel.
현장 반발과 현장과의 마찰이 없이 집행하는 부분에 대한 고민이 좀 있어 왔을 거고요.
So
또 지금 윤
the
대통령
National Police
측은 영장
has an
발부와
arrest warrant
집행 이 모든
that they are
것들에
trying to
대해서
arrest
위법성
them.
논란을 제기를
But it seems like he has bunkered up. XBC is protesting the North Korean spies. You should debate him. What the hell is that? The North Korean spies? Yes, chatters, he has a wife, I know, and he loves his wife. But also, he still drummed up support from the incel forces. XBC are streaming from the pro-Yoon protest trying to block his arrest. They went full Korean MAGA saying that the commies are taking over. That's amazing. Oh, God, I love how stupid our politics are and how they end up corrupting the minds of politics enjoyers globally. That's amazing. My mom's in the Korean alt-right pipeline thinking that North Korea and China was behind the airplane crash and other conspiracies, and thinks that Young Suk Yeol was 100% in the right, getting rid of all the corruption. Is there anything I can do? That is amazing, dude. Signs of resistance from the presidential security as the arrest team encounters a wall of vans blocking their path. CIO officials got off from their cars and entered the presidential residence on foot. Approximately 20 presidential security officers are in Yoon's residence and are resisting Yoon's arrest. CIO officials are having a standoff, a tense moment now. Yeah. Not a peep. All of this discontent happening in South Korea and not a peep from the United States of America. If you want to understand where the State Department's interests lie, understand that, you know, I don't think they care as much, regardless of who ends up manning the helm, you know, grabbing the reins of Korean power. But having said that, they do not have stop the steal. Oh my God, they have stop the steal signs. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. They're going to be like, build the wall. Oh my God. Oh my God. Build the wall. Beautiful image. They are literally wearing MAGA hats. They very much care. Korean Democrats will kill a military alliance with Japan.
South Korean president who tried to institute martial law and was removed and suspended from office. You can see the crowd here, including MAGA hat, American flags. We can take it through the crowd here. These are, of course, hardcore conservative supporters who are trying to block the arrest. There is now an arrest warrant for the president who has been impeached. These people very passionate, protesting all day, in fact, laying down in front of his residence. At one point, they want this police action to stop. They say it is wrong, and President Yoon is encouraging his supporters to do so. Very animated crowd.
Amazing. That is amazing, dude. I feel like I gotta go. I gotta go to South Korea, man. It's popping over there. They're saying stop the steal in English too.
steal! Stop the 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 steal!
We will never atone for the crimes that we have committed. Okay. America's interventions around the globe are so vast and so severe and so awful and also endlessly persistent. Like, colonization doesn't even begin to explain this. Yeah, this is like beyond imperialism. The amount of brain rot that we have exported to the globe is crazy. Connor is getting not Elon, Adrian Dittman on. Not Elon Musk. Hold on. Connor said DMs though. How do we know he actually responded to DMs? I believe it. How about 3 or 4 PSD tomorrow? It doesn't have to be exact. Just love planning ahead for Fortnite Friday. Hit me back on DM soon. The protesters support Yoon are also frowned upon by a lot of Koreans, supposedly because Korea is still under national mourning due to the plane crash. Unless specifically timed with a low chance of alteration by external forces, anticipating the exact timing of events is unrealistic. Speaking of South Korea, did you see the season 2 of Squid Game? Yeah, I started watching it. Any other updates not from like an insane hog account about what's happening in South Korea? Play Red Velvet again, please. No. Okay, fine. Okay. Play Marvel Rivals and get boosted by Noko. Here, let's see.
Extraordinary images, extraordinary. Steve, this would be, extraordinary images, extraordinary in terms of this development. What are we expecting?
Well, it seems as though that this crisis that has really erupted in South Korea now for a month. In fact, it was a month ago today that Yoon Suk-yeol, the president, issued that ill-fated declaration of martial law, which triggered this crisis in South Korea. But again, he's refused 3 different times to meet with investigators, of course, after the arrest warrant was issued by the Seoul Western District Court on Tuesday.
Can someone send me that Stop the Steal photo again? Of the South Korean incel? Please?
And now it has come to a head outside his residence in central Seoul, where about 3,000 police officers have joined with investigators from the Corruption Investigation Office for high-ranking officials.
No, not this one. There was a better one.
Said to be acting on that arrest warrant. Keep in mind, they have just 7 days until that from the issuance of the warrant.
Update. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol's lawyer said Friday that investigators trying to detain the impeached leader were not acting lawfully, vowing to take further legal action against the move. Investigators have court-ordered warrant to detain Yoon. Third Korea possible? Who knows? Not the clip. There was a photo of the dude with the glasses holding up a MAGA sign. God damn it. This was the one. Thank you. Amazing.
Until it expires. So that would be at the end of Monday. So today and through this weekend, things could come to a boil and to a head, obviously. We have not gotten any reports yet whether the team of investigators have teamed up with the police to try and essentially break their way through hundreds of Yoon supporters who have rallied outside of the presidential residence as Yoon is said to be inside and staying there and refusing to cooperate. In fact, his legal team yesterday issued or made a petition in court as well to essentially say that any move to get the police and the anti-corruption investigators together would be an illegal move. In fact, this arrest warrant and the proceedings so far, the Yoon team has called illegal and invalid. So there's a standoff essentially right now, and we're going to have to see how this obviously plays out. It might not happen today. It could potentially happen over the weekend, but something will happen by Monday, obviously, when the arrest warrant potentially expires. And again, this investigation, the anti-corruption investigation team, if they do in fact arrest him, they would have then 48 hours to decide whether to formally arrest the president or release him. So lots yet to be determined.
And Steve, in fact, in just the last couple of minutes, we're hearing more Yonhap reporting saying that investigators in Korea have now entered Yoon's residence. So there has been indication from him that he would stay and fight it out in court. Do we know what sort of...
What they're reporting in the news isn't exactly what people are saying here in Korea. What are people saying in Korea? That the president is actually brave and we must stop the steal? Is that what you're going to say?
time frame, what happens from here? And, you know, this is a country that's engulfed in sort of so many different types of crises at the moment. Do we expect any sort of stability anytime to come?
Well, we obviously have to hear the results from the Constitutional Court. So following that impeachment on December 14th, the ball was then handed on to the Constitutional Court and they've begun, we're hearing, deliberations on the move to potentially remove President Yoon. So the Constitutional Court would, either have to rule by, I don't know the exact date, but on whether to uphold.
The congressman had discretionary spending where they could basically spend what they want. The opposing party wanted to audit them. Okay. What part does the congressman who were being audited refuse to work with Yoon? So here's the question. What's the part where Yoon purchasing North Korean uniforms to try to do a false flag attack, but then actually doing a martial law without even doing the false flag attack, where that part of the process becomes an issue? I like that you were like, what they're reporting on the news isn't exactly what people are saying here in Korea. And then what you reported to me about what people are saying in Korea are just the Yoon heads. Yeah, I know. I don't have this opinion that other countries are monolithic in their understanding of politics. I'm certain that there are Yoon heads out there. Okay. Some Yoonies gooning for Yoon, whatever you want to call it, that are going nutty mode and trying to find ways in which they must defend their beautiful president.
Hold the impeachment and then go ahead for the proceedings to potentially remove the president. So there are still a number of...
The uniform story was debunked weeks ago. The more serious charge and investigation right now is that Yoon approved the military conducting drone incursions into North Korea to provoke a North Korean attack and pave the way for martial law. I think it seems like his ultimate goal was to gear up for war with North Korea. And I'll take it one step further, okay? I'll put my conspiracy hat on for a second. There's a reason why it's awfully weird, suspicious, maybe even a little too convenient that Joseph Robinette Brandon hasn't said anything about President Yoon's ridiculous actions so far. which leads me to believe, given the position of South Korea as the bulwark against socialism during the Cold War, bulwark against the USSR during the Cold War, and DPRK's allegiance and closeness to Russia, I would go so far as to say that this would detangle the DPRK, decouple the DPRK from Russia if they were too busy engaging with South Korea, which leads me to suspect that maybe the State Department is not upset. Maybe they're upset that that Yoon was a little too stupid and couldn't pull it off, but I don't think they were upset at the attempt. As a matter of fact, they might have even signed off on the attempt. That's all I'm saying. And if you think that that is a far-fetched conspiracy theory, you sound like Alex Jones. I sound like Alex Jones. This is what I mean. When it comes to foreign policy, so many people are just simply oblivious to like America's involvement and intervention in every country, especially a country like South Korea, a nation that like only exists because America divided the country, that has a permanent military base on the nation state. And you're like, oh, that's just like Alex Jones. Yeah, that's just like vampire lizard people. You're right. Yes. DPRK sending soldiers to Ukraine and aligning itself with Russia is obviously something that the American government doesn't appreciate. So would the American government use a vassal state like South Korea to forcibly remove that allegiance? Certainly. I think the real interesting party in this equation is China, because I don't think China itself is all too happy about Russia's ongoing efforts of occupying Ukraine. China is Mr. Don't fuck up the bag. China is Mr. Look at our fucking wonderful trains. China as a nation state is like, oh, dude, look at all the innovative technological product that we're putting out there. Look, we have 6th generation fighter jets. Look how sweet they are. So China doesn't like that Russia is, one, consistently waging war in Ukraine. They've made that very clear. And two, China probably doesn't appreciate that Russia and North Korea are more firm in their relationship with one another. That probably threatens Chinese control over North Korea. You've lost it if you believe DPRK is fighting in Ukraine. I don't know if the DPRK is fighting in Ukraine or how much it's exaggerated, but I do know that they have a security cooperation. I also know that I don't know what China only gains from a prolonged conflict in Ukraine by gall-wasping Russian assets. I don't think China gains by Russia's prolonged conflict in Ukraine.
Procedural steps to go. But right now, the Anti-Corruption Investigation Force is acting on that Seoul Western District Court arrest warrant that was issued Tuesday. So that will come to a head. I believe President Yoon is probably trying to hold out as long as possible for the warrant to expire on Monday and then move to the next step. So there's a procedure going on here. Whether, of course, the anti-corruption investigation officers and the police can, as you said, they've entered the house, whether they can formally arrest him and take him into custody and begin that process is something that is going to be playing out over the next few hours.
And in fact, Steve, this is sort of playing out over the next few minutes, it seems. Investigators in South Korea having entered Yoon's...
You don't think they appreciate the West is using some of their attention on Russia? Most Korea and China experts agree with Hassan. I am in these circles. What you say is 100%.
Residents have now attempted to arrest Yoon. They've begun exercising their arrest warrant. This is according to the latest in Yonhap, and obviously this is moving very quickly.
I think China gains from Russia's war by having the U.S. deplete its arms. I don't think China gains from Russia's war because Russia depletes U.S. munitions, especially because there are very different battles that would take place if China were to ever engage with America like that. I don't think that anyone would benefit from that, and I don't think China wants that either. I think that's a crazy thing to assume. You're making it seem as though America and China are gearing up for hot war rather than a cold one. If anything, at most it'll be a cold one.
We've also seen, of course, a number of...
And yes, war is beneficial for countries like the United States of America that are sheltered from the worst aspects of said war, given its positioning, and also rely on a constant war economy for domestic manufacturing. If you are the number one exporter on the planet, if you're the manufacturing hub of the entire globe, and you rely on complicated trade agreements to ensure that you consistently get a steady flow of raw materials and also energy from numerous different partners on both sides of this said war, then yeah, it's not beneficial for you at all.
other
Yeah, no one in China thinks the U.S. is distracted by Russia or Israel. This is Western rhetoric that assumes China can't wait to pounce. We simply think of... Yeah, if that was the case, also, China would have literally invaded Taiwan when October 7 happened, which is what people were saying China was going to do at the time. Like, if this is the kind of attitude that China had, why wouldn't they have invaded Taiwan in America's like most disorganized moment? If that was genuinely an interest that they had. I think they just don't want to. COVID kind of shut that down. No, they're not done yet. What? You think COVID is the reason why China hasn't invaded Taiwan? Are you out of your mind? Guys, please stop. What are you guys saying? The current cooperation they have with Taiwan is beneficial. Sure, they would obviously want international recognition for Chinese Taipei as a part of the People's Republic. But America's never going to let that happen. And they're going to keep using Taiwan as a military base while America simultaneously says, "Oh, we have an understanding that Taiwan is China, but also not."
Aspects of this crisis, and the fact that the opposition as well as the leadership that remains in place hasn't been in place for very long. They're now dealing with, of course, not just this constitutional crisis and the governance crisis, but also trying to manage the country through the aftermath in the mourning period after the Jeju Airlines disaster as well. We've also seen South Korea cutting their growth forecast after this martial law fiasco. How big are the challenges?
Not just the USA, West allies are on the same note. There's nothing. The West allies are nothing. It's an invention, okay? It's an invention of continued American dominance. Oh man, Estonia's opinions. I really want to know what Estonia's opinions are on the matter. We have NATO. Our Western allies are directly a part of American intervention around the globe. Okay.
For whoever the next government and leader is going to be.
The storm in South Korea right now, given the constitutional and presidential crisis and that air crash and a period of mourning in South Korea, it's just absolutely mind-boggling to think how and what the next steps of recovery of confidence will take as this constitutional crisis potentially can go for the next month or two as the Constitutional Court reviews the whole process. But, any next administration, if we want to even jump ahead and speculate on that, would obviously first task would be to restore that confidence and restore order in the presidential office.
My 80 IQ OSINT prediction is that China will invade Taiwan in the late 2040s, 100th year of the founding of the CCP in 2049, Hong Kong total integration by 2047, and Macau total integration in 2049. Pretty sure anniversaries are huge in Confucianism, and they'd also want to be a superpower by 2050. I mean, maybe. I don't think so, but who knows? Won't China just do what they did with Hong Kong, wait for a point in time where the West doesn't care as much or can't fight back and just absorb it? Probably. I just don't think that China cares about numerology like that. Like, I don't think they base their foreign policy on numerology. Also, absorb it is funny when talking about Hong Kong because, like, it was on a lender. It was on loan. China looks like they're going to invade Taiwan in 2025 the way she is talking. I would be very shocked. Macau is definitely the one thing separating China from being a real superpower. Yeah. Listen. We have our reservations in Las Vegas. Okay. Cyprus exists as well. All great superpowers around the world need a holdover space for unlimited, unrestricted gambling. You can't have it until it's like firmly within your bosom. Although I personally, Macau is protected by Ronin. This is why Trainwrecks TV is also a part of a global superpower coalition, given the crypto gambling casino stake.com. Yes, this is also why Jersey has Atlantic City, because New Jersey is a global hegemon. Why else would there be Iranian mothership drones off the coast of New Jersey? Have you never asked yourself this question? What would they possibly want from New Jersey? The small-minded peon thinks in days. The large-minded, brilliant man thinks in years. thinks in decades, thinks in centuries. If the 100 years of humiliation is over and now we are now moving into the century of Chinese dominance, one must not forget that this will also be a century of New Jersey dominance. That's right, baby. That's right. New Jersey, Turkey, China. Your bias law.